Hey, what's up guys, it's Oakley, and here is my horde of camel warriors. So we're going to be playing a large 2 versus 2 battle. I'm going to be playing as Egypt, and on my left flank is going to be this massive 5-unit strong horde of camel warriors. Some of them are going to be camel archers, some of them are going to be just, camel spearmen on the assault. So they're going to be pressing forward with a leve thoreo spears. So they're going to be pushing up on my left flank. This is going to be a battle on ultra funds. So it's going to be myself playing as Egypt. I have an ally in Carthage on the right flank. We're going to be playing against both Rome and Athens. So my build right here is rather interesting. So up through the front I have 3 Egyptian archers, which are basically very cheap crap archers. 3 thoreo spears, those guys have precursor, a lot of precursor javelins, and then 3 Galatian royal guards, those are extremely good infantry. So I feel like that can hold out on its own pretty well. In the rear I have 2 Ptolemaic cav, 2 scythe chariots, and you'll notice 1 more scythe chariot is in the front. So this could be pretty devastating, and this is kind of what happens when you're on ultra funds, is you can afford a lot of great units. So I do have 3 of the scythe chariots total. That's a lot. And on the left flank, like we were mentioning before, the camel spearmen with leve thoreo spears in the front to help them push forward and deal with the enemy threat. So the reason I have 1 chariot unit up front is just to try and scare the Romans. The Romans are deployed in front of me. The best way to deal with their heavy infantry is just to run them over with scythe chariots, obviously. So I have to be a little cautious because the legionaries here are going to be heavy duty. They have a front line of Syrian auxiliary archers, eagle cohorts all up and down the line with avocati eagle, so that is as strong an infantry corps as you will see. They have some Saki equites in the back. Looks like there's another eagle cohort, legatus, and yeah, the mix of really heavily armored Syrians in the front. So that's pretty scary. This is a very hardcore Roman force that is not going to be going down without a fight. And in the back they have some of the African war elephants, and because we are on, I think, ultra funds and large units, this has 12 elephants total. So that is the Roman force facing off against us. The Athenian army here has mercenary Cretan archers, a rank of 4 of them, or 3, sorry. Thorax hoplites, a lot of these guys up through the front with some picked hoplites in the core sent. Those are obviously some very elite troops which have, I think, leadership buffs for units around them, so that's going to hold up his core pretty significantly. He's got a bunch more picked hoplites, mercenary veteran hoplites, and finally in the back some thorax swordsmen. So he has some very sturdy infantry, but in a long-term match you can't expect the hoplites to do much. They will hold out forever, but he's not going to be able to deal a knockout blow. But I guess that is Rome's strength, is not only grinding it out but actually taking a win. So the Romans are going to be pushing on the right. Let's finally cover the Carthaginian force that's plowing forward. So he has a lot of mercenary Cretan archers and Balearic slingers that can definitely take on this Athenian force. So we have that to our advantage. Mercenary Samnite warriors, noble fighters, Libyan infantry. So we have a lot of swords compared to the hoplites. So I would say the advantage is ours on this side, whereas in the far side the advantage is Rome's, except for when it comes to the chariots. So that is going to be the deciding factor, how well I can use those chariots. Anyways, the initial engagement is going to come underway as the Carthaginian force, which has skirmishing superiority, is now going to start to cross the open ground here. You can see Athens trying to redeploy. What I did is I pushed forward with some of my own archers just to get some early shots against these units. What I'm trying to do is bait the enemy to get up close. I even brought my thoreo spears really close. I wanted to do additional damage with some of their shots. It's the only way I could start shooting through the Syrian archers. My archers head to head will lose. You can see them already down to 77, 69. Those guys are getting shredded by the heavy archers there. So that's why I wanted to bring in some of my own javelins to kind of accelerate this combat. And then I brought in some of my own chariots as well, so that I could run down the enemy Romans if they got too close. The Romans are going to be having close support of their heavy cav, so now I'm going to turn around and charge into this. Now my chariot's going to get a nice flanking shot, absolutely rolling over the Romans on this flank here, and we're going to continue to charge through. This is going to be to my advantage. However, once we get a little bit further, his precursor javelins are just going to absolutely wreck my guys. The couple units that do get through are going to slaughter his guys. But you'll notice here this was a test run with the chariots, and while my opponent still has precursors, he can destroy the chariots. So there you saw them go down. They got 43 kills. That's not going to be enough to pay for themselves. Up through the front lines, I did get a nice hit on his eagle cohorts, and now my Galatian royal guard is going to be engaging with them. So I should be able to win that fight pretty handily. I'm going to continue to pull out of this engagement because I can't beat the eagle cohorts straight up. So I'm waiting for more reinforcements. Over in the distance, we're doing a lot of kiting. Let's watch the Galatian guard here. Now we get on the legionnaires. Looks like I get a pillar volley against him. So my elite infantry can take his elite infantry. It's going to be a close call. Cavalry is getting in on the mix, so this is going to be, like I said, a close call, definitely. I'm pulling back on the left side as more eagle cohorts threaten the rear of my Galatian royal guards. This is going to be where I try and re-engage. And what I'm going to especially try and do is come in with my Ptolemaic cav. Best thing you can do against charging infantry is to land cavalry strikes against them. So that's what I'm starting to do. Coming in with my Ptolemaic cav, I'm going to pin him with some of my depleted Thureos spears. And here comes Ptolemaic cav crashing headlong into these guys. So that's going to be how I start to even the odds. And then I pull out. He does get a nice volley against me, but I should be okay. So I'm dispersing here. I'm going to bring in some more guys to plug the gaps. So I'm doing everything I can to balance the odds. Praetorian Guard getting in there. This could be deadly. My main lines here are starting to waver and potentially collapse, so I'm pulling my Galatian Royal Guards out of that position, and that is going to open up his units for a charge for my guys. Just wanted to get this in slow motion for you so we get all the action. So that is my general strategy here, picking and choosing my fights and then getting advantageous flanking shots with Thureos spears into the side of the Avocati, cavalry strikes and all that. So that's how I'm turning the battle into my favor, and then I'm moving away from these positions where I don't need to engage. Meanwhile, this side, the main engagement has taken place. These skirmishers essentially killed each other, and now you have this big grindy fight down through the center, which I said, you know, the swords will eventually be able to cut through the hoplites, but because this is you know, ultra funds, the hoplites that we're facing off against are going to pose a sturdy wall, so it's going to be very hard for us to cut through this. So the flanks is where it's going to be important. Looks like we have enough units to commit and start to wrap around that. So the mercenary Samnite warrior is going to be starting to do just that. Carthaginian cav running roughshod through the back. And some of my own cavalry over here also doing the same. So we've exploited the gaps in the enemy lines. We're going to be going for their weak targets in the back. And then potentially we're going to come in and land some devastating strikes. You know, hammer and anvils all down the line. Meanwhile, over here, my chariots got up close, but again, the precursor javelins are going to be dangerous for me, so I turn to hit this target. And now we have double chariots in the mix here. So once I have these units tied down with no support for them, now I can continue to spam movement orders, and this is where we're going to start to rake up the kills. More hammer and anvils, you can see against that unit right there. Boom, Avocati is going to be going down significantly. And now my chariots, let's see if we can't ride along here, are going to have free reign into the back lines, cutting these guys down. You know, that unit right there spliced, lost a limb, losing lots of limbs. So cutting through here, and I'm going to be moving to this side of the battlefield where I'm going to try and help out the Carthaginian player. So here we are running through the debris, the carnage on this side. In my wake, we will actually break free of this real soon. Just want to get a couple extra shots of this. So here, yep, closing in on the rear of this line. So just to show you what's been going on here, I brought my chariots all the way to this side. They have 95 kills, so right into the Athenian flank where they were hoping to hold us strong. So there you go. Slow motion. The fight in the center is being held. Our flank attack on that side is being held. On this side, we're trying to get the other flank to go in our favor, which is why I brought the chariots over here, so they should be able to help tip the odds in our favor. 166 kills, probably going to top 200. Meanwhile, on this side, what I've done is I've cleaned up the center for the most part. My chariots and cavalry strikes have tied down the Romans. And in the meantime, my massive, weird camel wing has done nothing but delay the Romans on this side. And in particular, the elephants here. I've kind of trained them to follow me, so I'm luring them away from key portions of the battlefield. And because they're so slow, they can't catch up to me. The units that are close enough are going to force them to run amok here. And this is exactly where I need these guys to run amok, where there's the remainder of these healthy eagle cohorts. So watch this guy. He's trying. My opponent is desperately trying to pull him out of range of my camels, but with no slingers left to defend the elephants. Looks like they're going to start to panic and start to do a lot of damage against the Romans. So this is going to be obviously to my favor. Meanwhile here, we've cleaned up the remainder of the Romans. Massive double strikes against the remaining legionaries here. This is where the Roman legions do the worst, when they're pinned from the front and attacked from the rear with cavalry. We saw this happen many a time in history. We can even see it looks like they have some Saki. Ooh, destroying that guy. So now we're rallying on this front. Broke through the remaining Romans here. Looks like this hoplite wall is actually going to be the one that grinds through and kills our Libyan infantry. I guess that's what you get when you bring the picked hoplites. They're going to be winning out. Ooh, and crucially, the Hippeus Lancers. This is going to be key, breaking through on this flank, actually turning the tides against us. They're going to be having a crucial choice to make. Do they, let up the pressure on their front lines, or do they go after the skirmishers? Looks like he's going to elect to go after the skirmishers, which is why they're trying to retreat back to our lines. Thankfully, these Hippeus Lancers are tired. So he's going to throw in, I believe, a sacrificial unit to slow those guys down. These archers are probably out of ammo, and the general's coming back to save the day. Meanwhile, in the back, I have some of my guys here to land some hammer and anvils. The picked hoplites are almost done cleaning up these Libyan infantry, but it's enough time for us to charge straight into the back. Looks like some of that damage was reflected back against my cavalry, so these guys are very, very hard to break. But every couple of extra hits we do is going to be tremendous. My camels here, always really epic to be able to pull off camel strikes. So I just have a huge horde of camels running around. They were trying to get some nice hammer and anvils in that group. Meanwhile, over here, the elephants did get in and amongst the mix of my guys. But that's okay. I soaked it up on the Egyptian archers, which isn't too bad. And then my own units here getting heavy shot into rear of the eagle cohorts. Seems to be going, okay for me. Our main line here has finally cracked. Athens actually came out on top, so Carthage I was hoping would be able to pull it out for me, but it seems like that's not going to be the case. Ooh, and these elephants still at full strength, still not rampaging as I would have liked them to. My camel archers there continuing to shoot at them, hoping that they'll run amok. My guys are going to just run out of here. The auxiliary elephants here actually somehow not routing just yet, so they are doing tremendous damage to me. They kind of rallied these legionnaires and the eagle cohort so they can chase my guys out. The Galatian Royal Guard is not going to stick around with elephants nearby, so I'm pulling out, and there you go. Looks like they are actually on the brink. They have multiple penalties stacked against them, so I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to start rampage against their guys. That's going to tie them down. My own camel archers with heavy shot are going to come back and try to pick apart some legionnaires. But yeah, now it's all about rallying on this front. My ranks of camels here have come back to save our own archers, skirmishers, from the enemy marauding cav. So we've pretty much neutered Athens' mobility, so all they have left is hoplites. That's something that is fine. And there you go, now they're finally rampaging. But like I said, having Athens with only hoplites is okay for us. What it means is the opponent is going to be very slow, and with our cavalry superiority, that means we can hammer and anvil them and kill units out in the open, just like this legionary unit. And so you would never expect legionnaires to be charged by camels, but today is the day, folks, that you see that happen. They don't have much mass, and they don't have much charge bonus, but when you have this many camels thrown at the legionnaires, this is a crazy sight. I want to get some nice shots of this. Camels are such weird animals. You think what kind of a bizarre fight this would have been in real life. You have camels fighting against legionnaires or other types of troops. But yeah, really interesting stuff. So there you have it. Camels going down pretty much in droves, but that's okay. I have the surround, and this eagle cohort is actually going to be wavering down to 84 men. Seems to have stabilized, so my camels are losing more and more. Reinforcements are going to be coming in. No, actually, these are my Galatians coming in to secure this little victory here. We're gobbling up the little clusters of Romans that are left. The elephants here got 214 kills, so a pain in my ass. I think some of those kills might have been against their own troops, however. Disengaging with my camels, and I'm going to let the Galatians... Actually, looks like I'm pulling out of this, revving up for another camel charge. So let's watch this. But now it's combined with some of the more heavy-hitting Ptolemaic cav. And this is just an absolute mess. I can't imagine any of these legionnaires are still standing. Yeah, there you go. Their unit icon has been wiped off the map. So we've obliterated those guys. So I actually managed to clean up the Roman army. Carthage is all but gone. He only has his general's bodyguard left. Meanwhile, the hoplites are swarming through here. The only Roman unit left is actually these elephants that I've now managed to corral with my own camels. They are running amok, and so I'm going to use them actually against the allied force here. So now they're going to be charging into the hoplites. This is exactly the type of scenario I needed for them to start tipping the odds in our favor, especially against hoplite units. Those are units that I can't necessarily take out easily with camels and other light cavalry, but that is basically it. That's the remainder of our force. They have a lot of thorax swordsmen and spears, whereas this is it. This is all that's remaining. So I think the key component of this force is going to be the 2 Galatian guard units. 199 kills there, 185 kills there. They're pretty much winded, but my general has the ability to have second wind. And having heavy swords is going to be key in the late game. They can chew through the enemy hoplites and thorax swords. And then the camels and other light units are not going to deliver the final blows, but they're enough to distract the enemy force. Speaking of the rampaging. The annoying thing is when they're rampaging here, you can't target them with your own units. So what the Roman player actually probably did here was tell the mahouts to kill their own elephants, which is tragic. But here we go. This is going to be the final stand of the Athenians. They're pulling back to this little cluster, which is one that I had isolated and tried to eliminate. So again, the nimbleness of my camel warriors means they can surround, hit these guys on their bad side. And yes, it's not going to be doing too much. It's more of a nuisance than anything. But it's going to do some damage. And every unit that's not facing, my Galatian warriors means that they're going to have an easier time once they start closing. And here you go, the Galatian Royal Guard engaged here with 102 men with 202 kills. We'll keep an eye on that, see how they do. And let's take a look at some of the colors on these guys. Definitely badasses. I don't know too much about the history of the Galatian Royal Guard, but I'd love to learn more. These are definitely an interesting unit. And they are a key component of the Egyptian roster for sure. Not to be underestimated. So enemy recognizes this threat. They're going to be throwing a lot into my Galatians. Now they've gotten 25 more kills since we last checked. Lost a couple men in the process. We'll reformat everything. The enemy has covered their flanks. However, it's starting to be stripped bare as they pour more into my Galatians. Ooh, crucial mistake. Got the general. Oh man, you saw how deep the camels pushed into that force. This is going to do a lot of damage, especially to the general. Now watches the waves and waves of camels charge into these guys. This is how you break a final holdout like this. Mass charges on all sides. What happens is as you charge through and you get more penetration, you're going to inevitably hit one side of the circle. And so with charges on every side, what happens is you start to get attacked in the rear penalties for every single enemy unit. And this is where the morale starts to go pretty much haywire, especially if you can land a kill on the enemy general, which it looks like that enemy general has died. So you're going to start to see, oh no, it looks like he's still alive with 54 men left. Galatian guards here with 292, so they've raked up 100 kills since we last checked in on them. So yeah, definitely strong. Only one of them committed there. The other one has now been committed on the other flank. He's 236 with 109 men left. Pretty good. Camel still circling, waiting for the final blows. Looks like my camels and Hippias Lancers, or Ptolemaic Cav, excuse me, are going to be trading positions. My camels are going to go to places where they're not necessarily as required. Ptolemaic Cav, on the other hand, going to be going where they need some real heavy hitting, which is against the last thorax unit right there. The noose is tightening on the bottleneck. The last couple, the little enclave of the Athenians here. Little did they know their expedition would end in a death by camel. but that is how the pick hoplites, excuse me, are going to go down. And man, these camels look scary as hell with blood all over them. And there you go. The last of the Athenians broken, and that is how it ends, ladies and gentlemen. So definitely an awesome battle. Hope you guys enjoyed. I definitely did too. These ultra fun battles can get crazy. I mean, 3 sides chariot units, all eagle cohorts, massive lines of picked hoplites. Definitely gets interesting. Anyways, let's end the replay and check out some of the kills right here. My ally, Gaius Marius, actually getting a fair amount of kills. I got the most kills of anyone. The chariots here doing pretty well. I would say actually it was my Ptolemaic Cav and my Galatian Royal Guard, you know, each of them getting close to, if not exceeding, 300 kills apiece. Somehow my Egyptian archers here getting 124 kills, and recall, they were mostly shooting at eagle cohorts and Syrian archers, so that for cheap Egyptian archers like that, that is trading very, very well. So overall, my force doing pretty well, and even the camels doing pretty decently. Gaius Marius here doing okay, mostly his high tier infantry doing most of the killing. His Libyan infantry doing alright against the hoplites. His skirmishers doing pretty well. So overall, pretty handy battle for him, although he did get clobbered in the end by the Spaniard here, who was as Athens. So for him, his heavy elite hoplites actually getting a lot of kills. Cavalry, I think he would have benefited from a couple more cavalry that could have shredded this Carthaginian force easily. Thorax hoplites are never really that great, so that as a core wasn't too effective. The swords basically just obliterated the other swords, so they both each got a lot of kills, but in doing so, the swords kind of neutralized each other. Romulo here in the end with the auxiliary African elephants getting a lot of kills. I'm not sure how much of that was against his ally, but nonetheless that is pretty impressive for elephants. Eagle cohorts here doing actually really terribly. Only a couple, you know, passing the 100 mark. 8 on a first cohort unit is pitiful. 13, 38, 52, 62, 62, 42. That is absolutely terrible for eagle cohorts, which should be trading cost effectively, especially against, look what I had. I mean, I had crap infantry here. I didn't even have that much infantry, so that just goes to show how effective the engagements were that I chose. My Galatian Royal Guard doing a lot of kills against those eagle cohorts, the chariots and cavalry, obviously pitching in where needed, and even the archers evening up that playing field. So overall, hope you guys enjoyed that battle, and yeah, I will see you in the next one. Peace out.